Hi, and welcome to Screens in Focus podcast, where we share and connect as we spotlight our favorite shows and movies. I'm Brooke.
I'm Diana.
And this is episode 80.
Woohoo!
Today we're going to be talking about, The Walking Dead Season 10, Episode 13, What We Become. We will also discuss the movie It Chapter 2 and Self-Made Madam C.J. Walker, a Netflix limited series. But before we dive in, how are you doing, Diana?
I am doing really good, Brooke. I am geared and pumped to talk about this episode of The Walking Dead. But I had a really good day. So, we're doing this remotely because we are trying to be safe with everything that is going on with the coronavirus. So, but I was able to get out during my lunchtime and walk Riley, and he was happy. And I actually started was listening to a podcast, but I didn't get too far into it. And it's Armchair Expert, which I've talked about before. But I really wanted to get into it. I only got about a half an hour in. Believe it or not, it's pretty long. But it's based on, they're going to talk about friendship, the biology of friendship. So I can't wait to...
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool topic. So I cannot wait to listen to more and find out more. And when I do, I will share it with you and our listeners. So.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah. How are you doing?
That's awesome.
Good.
Good.
No, you go and then I'll bring something up. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm good. I just had a business day today. I had some personal business that I had to take care of on my computer. So I'm filing my taxes finally. So I had to, do all the reports, and I need a lot of focus. And I normally do that when my kids are in school, but since they're out of school, I had to leave them at home with their substitute teacher for the day, their dad, and I went to my place of business. Yeah, exactly. So I went to work, and I was in my office where it's very private. There's nobody doing business in the building at this time, so I was in a comfortable setting, and I got to water my plant at work.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did I'm not done. I can only do 2 to 3 hours of tax work at a time. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to go.
Oh my gosh.
I'll be finished tomorrow.
That's a long time.
Yeah, it's really, that's why I do them so late, because I just dread doing it. Preparing them. And that's all I'm doing is preparing them. And It's just, I get it down to my spreadsheet. Some places, people will bring in a huge box full of papers and they just, And I'm like, oh, wow, really? I wish I could just do that. Just here you go. But I have to sit there and go through every expense and blah, blah, blah. So that's what I did today.
Oh,
but
fun.
You were talking about you were talking about, you had something that you wanted to share with me.
Well, I wanted to share with you and all of our listeners Walking Dead news, because on podcast 78, I was sharing with you how the Walking Dead finale of season 10 was going to coincide with the beginning of the new series, and they were going to premiere the same night. But what ended up happening is, because of the coronavirus, they delayed the new series and put it out indefinitely. And then since then, I think it was earlier this week, the Walking Dead season finale is also put on hold. So we're only going to see up to episode 15, which is crazy, because we're all probably going to be dying and wanting to know how it ends. And we're going to have to wait for that because, they had to close down production or post-production because there's a lot of work that still goes into putting out, an episode. So They had to shut it down.
Oh,
So
I'm so bummed.
I know, and I know it's for good reason, and we all want everybody to be safe, and we want everyone to do the right thing and do social distancing and make sure everybody's healthy, and so it totally makes sense. It's just that I was thinking, oh well, at least we'll get the finale, and then it'll at least be somewhat of an ending point until the next one, but no. So
not yet. We have to wait longer.
yeah. But I also wanted to share something that made me happy yesterday, actually. I think it was yesterday.
Okay.
A friend of mine emailed me something. She says, oh, I'm going to email you something. I'm like, okay. So I went and opened up my email, and both her and I are Green Day fans, and we both go to Green Day concerts together. And so she sent me a YouTube link, and I clicked on it, and it was Billy Joe, who is the singer of Green Day. While he's in quarantine, he did a cover of I Think We're Alone Now, which I love that song. I mean, I used to sing that song when I was a kid. So he does a cover of this, and he put it out, and oh my gosh, I was singing my lungs out. I was just, it made me so happy. So I just wanted to share that.
Can you share the song with us? Because I don't think any of our friends listening know what song that is.
You know what song. You know what song. I think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone now.
Yeah.
Okay, you sing better.
All
Can
right.
you sing it now?
You go, girl. No, you sing. That was great.
No.
We got to hear our Diana at the mic. Yeah. That's cool. I know I've been hearing a lot of musicians putting on live performances on social media. So to help people get through this time, I think it's so beautiful of them to do that. I mean, people who love music so much, I think that's just so generous of their talent to share that with us and uplift us.
Yeah.
It worked with you.
Yes.
Look at you. You're just singing your lungs out, like you said. So
well,
cool.
And then someone else put out, what else did somebody else put out something. And all of a sudden I started looking up YouTube, and I was finding all kinds of music that was just very inspiring. So music is a really good way to feel happy. So I would recommend to anybody, just go find, listen to vinyls, listen to YouTube, listen to, wherever you can listen to music, I would say just listen to it. So, and listen to happy songs.
Yeah. Well,
or songs from your childhood or, songs that just make you happy. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for putting out that recommendation as well. That's very important. Yeah. And I think a lot of people will enjoy that. So moving on, I have a question for you.
All right.
Which I would say that it definitely pertains to this episode of The Walking Dead, What We Become. And so, I'm pretty happy with my life the way it turned out. But, there's times where I'm like, gosh, I wonder what my life would be like if I went down that path, or this path or that path. Because we see Michonne, she was tripped, but, we got to see what if she went this way or that way, or any of our group went this way or that way. And so I'm just curious, do you personally ever think about how your life could have turned out if you went in a different direction from the path that you actually took?
Yes, I have thought about it. I am so happy with my life. I love my family very much. And I really can't imagine my life any other way. I just feel that, people make their choices, and that's the right choice. I mean, that's the route that you have gone. That's your life. But I have thought about when I was young if I had chosen another route, because I, of course, wanted to be an actor since I was really, really young. And I thought, well, what if I just went to LA when I was young? What if I just left and said, this is the route I want to go? What would have happened to me if I had picked that route? And so...
Or what would have happened if you uprooted your family and went that route?
I've thought about that,
because what if
too.
you were a mom and you're like, ooh,
yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. And I have thought about that too. So, but I also feel like the route that I took is the right route. And I think, because I do believe a little bit in destiny and I believe that you can make choices, but I also believe that something in you directs you too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm an optimist, so I feel like the life I've led is the life that I should have led. Because I also believe that if you really want something, that you can still do it. You can still make it happen. I mean, we all have the power to change our lives or to make them what we want. So, you know what? If I really want to be an actor, then I'm going to be an actor. So that's why I do improv. It's why we're doing this podcast. I'm still being creative. So maybe my route originally was, that's what I thought I wanted to be. But maybe it's just me being creative, and that's how I'm fulfilling that. So
cool.
What about you?
I believe in you.
Thank you. Thank you, Brooke. I believe in you too.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. Yes. Well, when I was in high school, I wanted to be an interior designer, and I wanted to go to the Academy of Art in San Francisco. And, I wanted to design commercial property, residential. It didn't matter. I just wanted to be an interior designer, and I wanted to learn. I wanted to study art at an art school. So I do wonder what my life would have been like if I went to, I guess, a sophisticated university of that kind, right? Because I ended up, my other option that I chose, in high school, my path, I wanted to do hair. And eventually I did go to school for cosmetology. So it was like, well, I had two directions that I thought of, and I went one direction because I was able to. And now as an adult, I've dipped into community college, and I'm working on getting my degree. Small. First it's a certificate, then it'll be the associates, and then we'll see where I go. But I'm just doing it later rather than when I thought I wanted to, because who knows what could have happened if I did go that path. It would have been really expensive, and maybe at that time I wasn't able to live with the amount of stress or pressure that that type of life could have brought. And I think I managed very well under pressure at the age that I am now. So
yeah,
I think, you just kind of, like you said, being optimistic and knowing yourself. And maybe I didn't know myself then, but I know myself now, and I know myself now as who I was then. And so I could speak for myself in the past and say, Brooke, you are not ready. Now's the time.
Right. Right.
So I think no matter what, looking back doesn't have to be regretful, unless it's something that is truly remorseful, like maybe a terrible incident that you just should never have been involved in. But other than that, like on the positive note, as long as you feel good about who you are, no regrets.
Well, and also, like you said, it's never too late, right? I mean, you can do it now. You can do it today. You don't, you can, if you really believe in it and you really want it, then do it. Then just do it. And I think the reason that, because I always took acting classes, and stayed. It was my secondary. I had a job. I had kids. I had a family. And so I had to do that. But I never let go of what I loved, which was acting. I mean, I took many, many, many courses, classes. I took film class. all kinds of things. But the main thing is I still kept with it. I still was always learning. So, and that's what everyone should do. So, yeah, I agree with you. You should not regret. You shouldn't have any regrets. Unless, like you said, it's something that a circumstance or something that maybe happened. But still, you learn from those. You're always learning. We're always learning. So, and that's what we should take it as a lesson and learning. And it's never too late. And just keep reaching for those, what you want to become, right?
Yes. Good job. Cool.
So, listeners, let us know what you think. Do you ever think about how life could have turned out if you went in a different direction than the actual path you took? Let us know what you think. You can leave us a comment on Twitter at @in_screens or on our Screens in Focus Facebook page. You can follow us on our Instagram, subscribe to our website and YouTube channel. Brooke, what were what were your overall thoughts on this episode?
Oh, I cannot wait to talk about this. Oh my gosh. I feel like this episode was just pivotal. I don't know if you agree with that, but
Yes.
It was monumental for me. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm constantly amazed at the creative writing and the directing these actors can take these characters. I think I might have mentioned at the last podcast as well, like the actors are doing such an amazing job with their characters. So I applaud our actors in this show. They've exceeded, my expectations by far. And this show is just absolutely amazing. At first, I thought we were seeing flashbacks. And then I realized that we were in that alternate universe that Michonne was seeing. And then, we see Michonne just straight tripping. It was just so creative and well done. And what a send off for her. I just hope that this is a temporary hiatus for Michonne. And I really do hope that we see her again. How did you feel about this episode?
Oh my gosh, I was very impressed with this episode and the tribute they paid to Michonne, the character played by the amazing Denai Guerrera. I wasn't sure how they would handle her exit, but I thought it was brilliant. How they were able to use old footage and intermingle that with new footage to create this alternate what-if storyline as to what her life could have been like if she had made different choices. And I think that the title of this episode, What We Become, encapsulates Michonne's journey in The Walking Dead, and I can't wait to break it down with you in our discussion today.
I know. I was so excited to see because we haven't seen Michonne since she left with Virgil. And so Virgil, when they got to that island, he was acting kind of mysterious and a little awkward. And, once they settled on the island and they're touring around, Michonne was looking around the camp and she noticed some, it was pretty inactive. And, they were like, just the campsite was set up, but it was like a dead zone. She's like, where are your people at? Mm-hmm. And I think she was really smart to be questioning him throughout that time. And he was stalling when she was asking for what she had originally come there for. And it turned out that his family was stuck inside a building during the time of that attack. And they were killed because I guess a horde got through the building where they were in. And, he basically recruited Michonne so that she could use her skills to help set his family free so that he could bury them and that he could continue to bring them flowers every day as he promised.
That was sad.
But then
that was sad seeing their feet hanging and the shoes. That part was sad. I felt bad for him.
Yeah. Oh gosh, yeah, because he picked up the shoe and he put it on her foot, and we haven't seen a scene like that in a while where there was like a mass
suicide.
I guess suicide or something. Yeah. So that was pretty sad, and really scary, desperate times for those people.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. It
Yeah.
was very heartbreaking. Um, when there was Michonne, because Virgil just kept saying, "Oh, later, it's late, it's getting dark," Michonne just wasn't having it. She's just so curious. Like, she came here for a reason, and she wasn't getting what she wanted at the time, so she went snooping.
Yeah.
And Virgil then found her in that room. It already looked like a holding cell or some kind of testing facility, I guess, because there were like all those cages with, decomposed animals.
Right.
Maybe, I'm not sure what there were. And then he closed the door on her. He came up, and he closed the door on her, behind her, and he left her in there. We saw that she had food, right? And through the walls, you could hear people. So she's like, "Who are you? What has happened?" The people told Michonne that were in the next room what happened because they were there with his group, right?
Yeah.
And he basically snapped when he found out that his family were killed. So that food that he left for her, she ate it, and then it was drugged, and she began to hallucinate about herself. So, I just thought that was a complete and total trip. I was, pleased to see that footage and realize that we were going down that rabbit hole. I felt like Michonne was in Alice in Wonderland or something in her alternate universe, and I just knew it was going to be, we're going on a ride. I could hear Andrea, when Andrea was running, it was like the first so that was the night that they left the farm, right? Herschel's farm, where we see Andrea running
Yeah.
in the woods, and then Michonne, and that's when she originally met Andrea. So I'm like, oh wow, this is really cool. We get to
Yeah.
see this for some reason. And I'm like, oh, okay, this must mean something. And then I'm like, oh, this isn't what really happened, because she's just allowing Andrea to continue to scream and get eaten alive. But in the original episode, she saves Andrea, and they became, best buddies, and they form a bond. But Michonne just stands there and watching Andrea die. And then she eventually goes to Andrea's corpse, and then she's like taking her stuff.
Yeah.
She takes the blade out of her pocket and she wipes it off, her water canteen. And I'm just like, wow, this is not the Michonne that we know.
Yeah. I was really happy to see Andrea again. At first, I too wasn't sure if this was new footage. And I was so excited. I was like, oh, great. These actors are able to come back and do some new scenes. But then I quickly realized that it was old footage. And it was crazy to see Michonne take another route and not save Andrea. And at first, I wasn't even sure that was her corpse there. And I'm like, what? That's her corpse? Oh, my gosh. And yeah, to see Michonne take all her stuff and the knife, I was like, oh, this is where we're going with, this trip that she's on, which I still can't believe. I'm not sure how Herschel, sorry. I'm not sure how Virgil even gave her. It's like the food was there, but I don't know. That part was a little bit confusing to me. The last thing I saw was water dripping out of a spout, and then all of a sudden she's conked out. And I'm like, why is she conked out? Why has it been a day? So I wasn't sure how that all happened, but
she must have fallen asleep. She must have fallen asleep, and then that's when he took her sword and gave her the food.
But I thought she started
Right.
tripping immediately, so I didn't even think she had time to eat it. So I may have just been thinking too much at that point. I mean, either way, he did give it to her, and she did take it, and she started on this trip of hers, which was really, really crazy. And, the next thing we see is that, which is interesting because so many of these scenes are taken from different seasons and episodes. So we see where in season 3, episode 12, we see Michonne as in place of the hitchhiker that was on the road. So, and it's interesting because I always wondered why they didn't stop for this guy with the orange backpack. And I think it was Daryl, Rick, and Michonne in the car.
Right.
It wasn't exactly who was in the car, but I thought it was those three at least. And they drive past the hitchhiker and he's yelling for help and they totally ignore him and keep going. But now we see what it would be like if it were someone we knew and how their life may have been affected. And I also want to note that Virgil had an orange backpack, and maybe that seeing his backpack had an effect on Michonne in this hallucinogenic state that she's in. So maybe, she saw it there and then she incorporated it into her dream that this is all happening in. So.
Exactly. Yeah, that was pretty, it was interesting to see her reaching out for help, but she was the type of person to just let another human die, meaning Andrea.
Yeah.
Right? So
yes.
Interesting reflection. Those are not the same people, in my opinion. Those were two different people.
Yeah.
I think, because it's just that,
that's
but
true.
I'm not gonna go there. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the next scene after the orange backpack hitchhiker, she meets with Negan. And, she's over there in that creek just handling her business with some walkers. And then Negan approaches and, she then swings her katana at him. But then Negan just busted her in the gut with Lucille as she's defending herself tirelessly. And then the saviors approach her, almost instantly where she's recruited. Negan just really liked her massive lady nuts is what he put it.
Yeah, lady nuts, whatever it is.
Yeah. And, I couldn't imagine any of this really happening to her, but it just goes to show that what could happen if you make a decision, that your life depends on. It is life-changing. So it's something to really, I think about, if you're just thinking about characters or yourself, like, oh my gosh, these things can really happen. Or maybe they can influence you in some way. And obviously she got mixed up with the wrong crowd because Negan and the Saviors were not good people. Well, I guess it just depends on what side you're on. But Negan was very, very malicious. So, after meeting with Negan, the next scene that we see of her hallucination is from season 6, episode 12, when Rick, Glenn, and Heath are invading the sanctuary outpost, and they are there to silently kill the saviors while they're sleeping.
Yeah.
So Michonne, we see her asleep in her bunk, and we see Glenn and Heath sneaking into her room, and she just pops up so quick and just kills them. It's like she's sleeping with one eye open, I watched it again and I'm like, oh wow, she really was sleeping with her eye open.
Yeah. Oh man. Although it was really good to see Glenn and Heath again, it wasn't good to see Savior Michonne kill them. And I didn't recall it until watching this that it was Heath that was with Glenn when this went down. So, that was interesting too.
Well, yeah, because Heath left us after that event.
Yeah.
And I think he even had a hard time killing the saviors while they were sleeping. Glenn, I think, had to do it for him while they were asleep. I think he took if I can remember that night.
Well, Glenn himself had a hard time doing it because that was actually, for me, I think it was probably the hardest for Glenn out of all of them because that was so unlike Glenn to do anything like that. So it was just, it was really hard for him and to see his face and for him to do it, it was hard. But I in Rick's group their whole mind, they thought they needed to do this because they kept hearing about Negan, and they thought, okay, we have to get rid of these people so that we can, wasn't it at that point they were trying to help, I can't remember his name right now, where they kept saying, oh,
Gregory.
Yeah, Gregory. Where they kept saying, oh, this guy, Negan, he keeps, making us give him our food and our this and our that. And wasn't it at that point? Isn't that part of the reason that they went and, because they're like, hey, well,
that's exactly what they did. They needed the resources. Yeah.
But again, with Michonne flashing back to this alternate life of hers, we see from season 6, the finale, and season 7 premiere, where Negan killed 2 major characters from the show. So this was really creepy revisiting this episode, because I can say that out of all the seasons and episodes, this is the one that I have seen the least, because I cannot bear to see what happens to Glenn and Abraham, and with Glenn being one of my favorite characters, and then to see this alternate version that Michonne is Negan's right-hand woman and the one to get the deeds done. I mean, that's just crazy. She is scary, and she's wielding Lucille and says, you didn't even know who they were or where they were from. You came in dead of the night, just slaughtered them anyway in their sleep like cowards. Now you remember you did this. What happens next is your fault. And she says this as she's looking at a version of herself. So that was crazy, right? Because,
right.
I mean, she's seeing herself there. So, and this is right before she swings the bat. But from all of this, I think it's all her regrets. I mean, as I, see all this, I'm thinking, oh, it's choices that they made or that the group made that she just didn't feel, that just didn't sit right with her. So I think, again, this is another reflection, realizing that, we all have choices and we all have to live with those choices. So I think in this journey of hers, she is realizing who she wants to be.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty trippy because, she was on the other side of the fence, and, it's true what she said, but it depends on what matters to their group at the time. And she called, their group cowards directly into Rick's face, so I'm just wondering like what that really meant to her. Is she feeling guilty? Does she see her, because she sees herself and she takes that swing, and then after that, which would have been that last battle of the Saviors and Hilltop and Alexandria, we see Daryl shoot that arrow through her chest and she falls to the ground. It rolls into where Rick is standing over her, which would have been the same scene that they used from season 2, episode 7, where Rick had to shoot Sophia. And you were saying something about the current episode where he shoots Michonne.
Right. Yes. And that they use CGI to age him up, which was very cool and interesting, because back in season 2, he was, short-haired, fairly young. And so they they aged him up.
That's cool. That's like what they're going to be doing now, is all this new age technology where they're CGIing our favorite characters into making them older. It's trippy. It's amazing.
Or younger.
Yeah. Yeah. Or younger. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so then, oh my gosh, so we also see a flashback to season 3, episode 6, when Michonne and Rick meet for the first time.
Right.
So this is actually at the end. So this isn't when she's actually tripping, but it is a flashback from a previous episode. We see 2 people struggling, and they ask Michonne for help. And that's where we see the flashback of Rick standing at the prison fence, and he notices someone that isn't a walker. And it's Michonne, who has come up to the fence in the midst of all these walkers. And when I saw this for the first time, it was just a scene. back in season 3, episode 6. It was just a scene. But now, watching this right now, I was so deeply moved. Just knowing their relationship and how far they've come. I don't know. It was just, it just meant so much more to me, because here we've come all these seasons and know them so well, and their love and their children and everything. So it's just funny how the impact of a moment can have on you. And so in the flashback, he asks, "Want to tell us your name, who you are?" And then in present time, we see her release her walker guards, pets, whatever they are to her, and she slices them down. And, the two people that have asked her for help are scared because they're like, oh my God, she's wielding that sword. But she says to them, "Come on," and holds out her hand and shows them who she is. So she is someone who helps people, just like she helped Andrea. So I love how these things come full circle. I just think, it's just so good. I love it, love it, love it.
Yeah, I know. And so back to Virgil and Michonne, he tells her that he wants her to see that she's in pain just like he is. And at that moment, she was able to regain herself, even though she was like on acid or something. And Virgil was in the cell with her when he was telling her all those things. And then it's like she stabs him in the leg with a spoon. That was the wound that was created by Judith. Michonne, was like, because she didn't have the weapons that Virgil promised.
Right.
Apparently Virgil didn't lie about that. So she let the 3 people out of the cell. Mm-hmm. And then she tells Virgil, they chased him down after they saw the boat that was on fire. And Michonne, she pinned him down in the forest as they were out there to escape on the boat, right? And they found Virgil, and she pinned him down, and she tells him, that he has to try like the rest of us. And then she says to him, "And find my stuff," right? Because he promised her weapons. Like we have already, he put her in lockdown as if nothing, like she wasn't there for her whole purpose, he trapped her there, right? Yeah. Uh-huh. And she's like, "No, I'm not leaving until you give me my stuff." Like, where is it? She knows that there's something there, but she just needs to know where it is.
Yeah.
And I guess he takes her to this big fishing boat, or maybe it was like a Coast Guard boat or something. Uh-huh. And there's stuff in there. There's we see a gas mask, we see a lot of different things. And then she turns around and she finds Rick's boots. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. I saw the boots and I'm like, oh my gosh, those are Rick's boots.
Yeah.
And it was such an emotional moment for me at that time, because Rick, he had to have been there, because that wasn't the only thing that she found. She was freaking out when she saw the boots, but then she turns around and starts digging around and finds the ledgers. This boat came from New Jersey. And then she finds a phone which had an engraving of herself, a picture of herself, a drawing. And I think it was Carl, because Judith was a baby when Rick disappeared. And then the names, it said Rick in English text, but then Michonne, it was unreadable. And then Carl, it looked like the name was engraved Carl.
It was, I believe it was supposed to be Judith. Did you watch The Talking Dead? Because they asked about that. Because they were thinking, well, how does Rick know what Judith looks like now? Because he last saw her when she was a toddler. But I think Gimple kind of confirmed it was Judith, and that he wouldn't elaborate as to why she was older than what he remembered. And the hair was long. And also the words on there were, I think it was Japanese, and it had to do with, I can't remember. Now I don't recall what they said it was. But yeah, it was supposed to be Judith. I thought
So then they've
yeah.
got something up their sleeves that they're going to release to us. Maybe it'll be something like Fast and Furious Fate of the Eight, where Dominic Toretto, like Charlize Theron, she had leverage over him and was like, you better
gosh.
do this for me or I'm going to kill your family.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I'm thinking, how the heck? Because Dominic and I, my son Dominic and I, we had a discussion about it. I was like, who is that? He was like, that's Judith. And I was like, she was a baby. He's like, that's Judith. She wears that hat. And I'm like, so
Yeah.
did Carl. So I was just like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, I know.
But I know you guys could probably hear my baby
We
trying to
can.
get through. Mom,
Oh, poor thing.
he probably heard Fast and Furious. That's why he's at the door.
I
He's
know,
like, hey,
right.
somebody say Fast and Furious.
Right, exactly. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so she then, like, because there's so many emotions running through her mind at the time, she gets super paranoid, and then she blames him for looking for her particularly at Oceanside because somehow he may have known about who she is. But then he tells her he doesn't know what she's talking about. And it seems too surreal and ironic that Rick's possessions were on that ship altogether, right?
Yeah. We are recording remotely, so we do what we can in these times.
Hello.
So, yeah. So, you know, and I don't blame Michonne for really questioning Virgil because I would think the same thing. It's like, why did you bring me here? And, why am I finding all this stuff? And I would totally think what she thought. Like, you know more than what you're giving me here, buddy. So
Right. Exactly.
But I also feel like, oh my gosh, I feel that Michonne showed a lot of grace when it came to Virgil. I mean, those 3 people that he held captive wanted him dead. But I think that what she told the others was pivotal. I mean, it could have easily been a vengeful act, but she says, taking his life, you lose more of yourself. It doesn't settle it, but mercy gives you something. You get something. Peace. Oh my gosh, which I thought was so perfect. And it's so true. Which is, okay, kind of what's happening with Carol on the other end. But, and I thought it was interesting that Virgil didn't go on the boat with the rest of them, but stayed on the island.
Right.
All right. So, oh my gosh, Michonne has that conversation with Judith. I love this conversation so much. I felt like Judith really took the lead on this conversation. Michonne tells Judith what she found and doesn't know what it means, but that she is coming home because, they need her. And Judith says, we're okay. What if he needs you? Meaning the brave man. What if he's trying to come home, but no one will help him? And Michonne says, if I go, and Judith says, when you go and you find him. So she was giving her mom the permission to go find the brave man. And I love that name and how RJ is the little brave man.
I know, it was so sweet. Their code names for Judith was Jojo, and then Michonne is like Daito.
Yes, I think
Daito.
so.
Daito. Yeah, I thought that was so sweet. The kids, they were also really sweet together. That just warmed my heart seeing them together and then them talking to their mom, Michonne. And, Judith, to me, she seemed really sad, maybe a little disturbed at that moment. Because of what had recently happened with the Whisperers. And, she's such a hero. She keeps her mother's spirit high by telling her, we got him, Mom, speaking of the Whisperers. But Judith, she's just so strong and she knows so much. But at this point, I just, what if she and RJ lose their mom too? Like, I just don't know I just feel like that moment was really sad, but it was also really inspiring too. So I actually kind of left that conversation feeling heartbroken because as a mom, I know that we would do what we had to do, but that's a huge, huge risk. So then we see Michonne going on another path.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, what if I don't go? What if I go? What if it's just too many, you don't want to have regrets because she's on this road of positivity, and it's just, I'm hoping that we see her again. But I wanted to emphasize a little bit more about what you had brought up earlier when she runs into those people in their cowhide. Okay, so then she leaves the boat after speaking to Judith and docking, right? And so then she finds two walkers, puts them on leashes, and cuts their jaws off.
Yeah.
And she's like going to find Rick in her super awesome poncho that I totally want to wear now. And then she runs into those two people, a man and a woman, wearing these super awesome cowhide ponchos. One of them is injured, and they ask her for help, or, because they kept saying to her, they'll leave without us. They don't care. They will leave without us.
Right.
And so Michonne can see at the distance, and it's huge. A huge community. I mean, huge. It was amazing. What's going to happen? So she kills her pet walkers, and then she helps these people catch up to their group. And I'm just blown away, amazed. It gives me the goosebumps, like, to see that many people in one community. It's crazy. Crazy.
I was blown away by that too. I didn't even think it was people. I'm like, what is that? I'm like, is that a horde?
But look at how they were so symmetrical, right?
That was what it was brought up to me too. They're like, no, those are people. I mean, they're like, walkers don't make that type of formation. I'm like, oh my gosh. But I truly believe that the next time we're going to see Michonne is going to be in the movies. Because this was her farewell from the Walking Dead series. So, that's why I want these movies to come out.
Oh, I'm so sad right now.
So I can go see them so Michonne can find Rick.
And be reunited with her family.
Yeah.
I mean, what the heck?
Yes.
What the heck?
Yeah.
What if they have to leave Alexandria or Hilltop? Are you kidding? Oh, my gosh. There's no GPS or cell phones.
Yeah.
Where's my babies at?
Right. I know. It's all, yes, I know. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Brooke, what other things did you notice?
Well, when the credits, the opening credits, I saw Avi Nash, and I'm like, why was he named? I'm like, maybe they're just keeping the same people on, but I thought it was per episode. So we eventually got to see Sadiq in Michonne's acid trip. And, he starts out with her very comforting, and he was like, just let the medicine do its work. But then all of a sudden he like flips a switch, and he's like blaming her for everything that has happened to Carl, Rosita, Coco, like look at me, I'm dead. Like, and it's all her fault. And she's like freaking out.
Yeah.
And he's going in on her. And I was just like, wow, that was really impressive. And I thought of you because I'm like, oh, I know how much Diana loves Sadiq.
I know, I did. Oh, I know. Well, it was kind of good to see him for just a moment.
Yeah, his
just
beautiful
like it was,
eyes.
Yeah, just like Glenn.
Yeah.
It was really fun to see all these people again. So
I know. Abraham, we got to see Abraham. And Maggie, we got to see Maggie.
Yes, so true.
And also Sonequa Martin Green.
Sasha.
Sasha, yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Under the circumstances that they were in. And
I know.
Carl, we got to see Carl.
Yeah.
Okay. What else did you notice?
Well, I noticed the music. Oh my gosh, it was so good. And I noticed it because I listened because, of course, the music was getting to me. And I'm like, wait, what is that? Oh, it's violins. It's violins. It's so intense. It's so beautiful. It's so, it was building and building. It was during all the flashbacks. It really, oh my gosh, it just created that intensity and that suspense. So it was just done so well. I just always love the music on The Walking Dead. It's so good. And I also noticed when they showed and I think that's why I was so moved by Rick and Michonne, because of the music. And because I think originally when we saw it way back when, there wasn't music that was bringing, Michonne walking up to Rick and meeting him for the first time, because we didn't know at that time that, their relationship. But at this time, the music was so powerful. And so I think that added to me being emotional about that scene. But so anyways, the music is fantastic and I love it. Yeah. And also Judith says to Michonne, Alpha can't hurt them anymore, but I'm thinking Beta's still alive and he's still out there. So, Michonne is kind of going off thinking everything's all, done, but they still have villains to fight and tend with. So we'll have to see what happens there.
Yeah.
And, and then, when Virgil took off after being stabbed by Michonne and she went out to let out the other people, how did he set the fire to the boat so fast?
Exactly.
I mean, he only had a couple minutes on them. And then I was thinking that here's this large, huge boat and all of a sudden they have it running. I mean, it was just like that. It was...
I know, right? Like a gigantic boat.
Yeah. And it just been sitting there and, so... I don't know. It was just very, very convenient.
Yeah.
Yes, very convenient.
Exactly.
So, and then again, that caravan of people that we've talked about, that there were so many, and who are they, and why haven't they run across them before? Why is this the first time? So it's all very interesting, all very exciting, and I just can't wait to keep watching at least the 2 more episodes that we're going to get. So, but Brooke, tell me, why do you love this show?
Well, this particular ending in this episode was epic, and I just can't wait to see what this gigantic group is all about. Will Michonne find Rick? Will she find her kids again? I don't know. There's so many questions that we need to be answered, and this show really gives us more and more, where it actually never lets us down either, right? I mean, no matter what, when our beloved characters leave the show, we feel their absence. Mm-hmm. But, this show truly becomes part of my life and a journey that I want to continue. So I love this show. Yeah. Yay! But enough about me. What about you? Why do you love the show?
Never enough about you, okay? I really, really love that they brought back old characters. I loved seeing every single one of them. I feel like they're paying a tribute and like they're not forgotten, and that they're important people who made an impact. So I just love that. And also the technology that is achieved in this episode is amazing. The editing, I'm blown away by how seamless the episodes appear.
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, I wish The Walking Dead would win an Emmy. Come on. This show has been on for 10 seasons, and the acting, the writing, the directing, all the special effects and the makeup and all the crew and the creation of this environment, it's just outstanding. And I just love it.
Oh, I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah. It's
Thank you.
Awesome.
Aw.
And so now comes our time of when we give our award. So, Brooke, what was your favorite quote, character, or moment in this episode?
Well, I'm going to go ahead and give my award to the kids, Judith and RJ. I feel their empathy towards their love for their mom and their dad. And I think that it's extremely important for the kids to have their fulfillment. And they've been born in this world where it's just, for us, it's just completely abnormal, right? I mean, they've had to see things and do things that no child should ever have to see or do. And the one thing that really keeps them going is the strength that their dad was able to gift them by him being, I guess, just an inspirational person in their life. They don't know who he is, but all they know is this man, this brave man, was the best, greatest man ever. So for Judith to give her mom the strength to set off and find the brave man who has given them life, I think that was pretty empowering for a young person, an innocent life to give.
Yeah.
You know,
you're right.
My kids, I'm very lucky if I get a Mother's Day picture that's all cut up and glued, you know, for my kids. But for them to give their mom the green light to go be free and find the brave man, I think that was just something that my kids would be like, no, you're not going anywhere.
Yeah,
Come
exactly.
back. I need you.
Yes, they're very, very brave and giving. It gives them. There's a lot of credit, but of course, Michonne did a good job, and Rick instilling that originally in Judith, because he was around for the first, 3 years of her life. So, that's awesome. I love your pick. I think that's awesome.
Aww. So, who would you give your award to? What is your favorite character, quote, or moment?
Well, I have to give it to Michonne. I love the character of Michonne and the actress Danai Gurira. She is a phenomenal actress and a role model, and I'm a fan forever. As Michonne, she has been fierce. She's been brave, loyal, loving, and such a good mother. And I'll miss her on this show, but I'm just so glad that they didn't kill her. I really did feel that she wouldn't die. I felt like they were going to give her a send-off, that we were going to see her again. And, I can only hope and assume that we're going to see her in the movies. So I'm very excited about that. And I can't wait to see those whenever they finally come out. But, just Michonne has been just a wonderful, wonderful character.
Exactly.
And I have loved her.
Me too.
So I will miss her.
Cool. Well, thank you. Thank you, Michonne, for everything that you've been able to fulfill us in this beloved show of ours.
Yeah. So, Brooke, what else are you currently watching?
Okay. Well, I wanted to share with you all, it's a Netflix limited series called Self-Made, and it's the story of Madam C.J. Walker, which is, when they premiered this or announced it, I get notifications on my Netflix. I was like jumping for joy. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm a hairstylist. My biological father is African American, so I'm very much, informed with the American history of the Africans who were brought here. And so to see this story, who I've followed, this woman, come to, it wasn't a motion picture, but it was, for me, it's as close to a motion picture as I can get in the comfort of my own home.
Yeah.
right? In 4 episodes. So it's like 3 hours long of a amazing story to tell with an amazing actress,
Yeah.
Octavia Spencer, playing Madam C.J. Walker, which, you know, if you've watched any of this, you know that that was her stage name, basically, for her hair product line that she created. And she basically was a woman in laundry service originally, and she worked for I'm going to go ahead and say it. That time period, anybody who was half African American and half white American, they called them mulatto. And so in this show, that's what they're called, mulatto, right? So she's just basically half black and half white. So Madam C.J. Walker, before she was named Madam C.J. Walker, she worked for this woman, and this woman had her own hair care line. And it was like the Miracle Hair Grow hair care line. Well, Madam C.J. Walker was an amazing saleswoman that she just discovered, because she knew that she wanted more for herself than to be a laundry laundry service person to a mulatto woman. So she goes and she sells, and she believes in herself. So then she develops her own product line. And basically, a long story short, if you were to ever hear the name Madam C.J. Walker, you will know that she is the first woman millionaire who happened to be African American in the United States of America. So I think that's pretty incredible what she was able to accomplish for herself and for the American people, not just African American people, of course, from African American people, but for America altogether. It was a game changer. Truly inspirational, this woman was. I mean, she was a go-getter. So you get to see her life through marriage, her battle, just being a woman and rising to the top, being a black woman and rising to the top, a mother. It was just an incredible story. It was great. And I don't think that they could have picked a better actress.
She's great.
I don't know. It was just so fitting. She's definitely going to be nominated for an Emmy for this particular show, because it was a limited series.
Yeah.
If it were a movie, I think that she could definitely have a nomination for an Oscar for this show. It was just very inspirational. Anyone could enjoy this. Anyone could be motivated by this. And so I'm very proud that they did, create this. It was amazing. It was wonderful.
Awesome. Yeah.
So that's what I watched. I just want to tell you one more show that I'm watching. And it's about big cat dealers in the United States of America. And it's called The Tiger King, or it's on Netflix. It's a documentary, and it's called The New Tiger King. Now, I'm just sharing this with you because if you get on your social media like Facebook or Instagram, you're going to see a lot of memes out there with this guy. So basically, he is his name is Joe Exotic, and he's down in the South where he breeds tigers, and he has a huge farm with like tons of property where he has like over 200 tigers in the United States of America. And the first episode, they informed you that there are more tigers in the United States in captivity than there are in the wild, their native origin, which is, I had no idea. I mean, they're on the verge of extinction. They're endangered, but there's more here in our country than there are where they originate from, which is bizarre.
Yeah.
But it's a huge moneymaker for these people who have these zoos or tiger farms or big cat farms, or people in residential communities just have a lion or a tiger or a monkey
Oh my
or some
gosh.
exotic animal in their own home. So you will not even know if your neighbor next door has a tiger or a lion or a bear. You may not ever know that because, it's illegal to purchase them, but people own them. It's a whole crazy black market. So I recommend anyone to watch this. It's bizarre. I was like, what is this? I was thinking like drug lord. I'm not sure. But then it was like tigers. And I'm thinking maybe drug lord tiger, Tony Montana. Like, I'm not sure what's going on here, but I was highly amused and entertained. So if you get a chance to watch this, documentary series on Netflix, check it out. It's creepy. It's very, very bizarre, but it's entertaining. So I wanted to
Okay.
share that with you. I threw that in there at the last moment because
Yeah.
I just watched some of it last night and I was completely entertained. So that's what I've been doing.
Awesome.
What have you been watching?
Well, I watched something based on your recommendation. You had seen the Netflix documentary, The Trials of Gabriel Fernandez.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh
You
my
watched the whole thing?
God. I watched the whole thing, yes, because I just couldn't. Oh my gosh. I just watched it and watched it and watched it. And it was like so shocking. Why do I
Yeah.
keep watching all these shocking things recently? It's just like, I just don't understand. So, I mean, for anybody who hasn't watched this, oh gosh, it's an 8-year-old boy who was tortured and killed by his mother and her boyfriend, and how the child care services failed so many times, and the sheriff. I mean, how these people went to the mother on all these things to ask her, what was happening. Of course she's going to deny it. Oh yeah, he's fine. He's fine. He fell down. He was fighting with his brother. Oh, he's a liar. And what? Everybody believes the mother? How do you believe a mother when people call and say this is happening in this house? It was so infuriating and so horribly tragic. I was so thankful, for, is it the district attorney? Mm-hmm. Their office? Yeah. I was so thankful for him. So thankful for him for just seeing this case through. And I'm just upset that the social workers or social services or in Los Angeles County didn't have to pay anything, not even their jobs that I'm aware of. I'm not sure, but it was just so upsetting. So
Yeah.
I was so glad that I watched it. But I don't know. It was something good. It was something to watch. I mean, it wasn't good. It was horrible. But I mean, I'm so glad because I was informed. And I mean, here it's in Los Angeles County. It's
Right.
crazy.
It's very crazy. That series was just totally insane. And you're right. There were so many people that were notified. And the bottom line is, people feel like there's such a restriction on what they're able to do, even if it was like moral justice,
Yeah.
but they're like so hooked into, not stepping out of bounds. Right. And so they just felt like, I can't do this, and I don't get overtime, so I
Right.
can't do that, and the system will only let me go this far, and there's too many people that need help, and at the end of the day, like, I go home, and it's just like, oh my gosh, like, I don't really know what the justice could be. I mean, like, what should have happened? Should the teacher have like kidnapped him
I know,
to protect
right?
him?
I know.
Or-
Yeah, and then she would have been in trouble. So,
Yeah.
and she was the one who was trying to help him, but nobody would listen,
Nobody, yeah. And she was the
Even-
only one
yeah.
that was able he confided in, and every time she would call social services, he would get in trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, he would get in trouble for telling.
Yeah.
Oh, it was horrible. It was
Really
horrible.
is. It's very hard to watch. I have a good friend who I've known for a long time who is in child services, and she refuses to watch it. She's like, nope. My friend, her husband is also in law enforcement, and, he was like, let's watch it. She's like, absolutely not. The two of them hear horrible stories combined.
I know.
And this was just beyond reason, beyond. Like,
Yeah.
no way.
Yeah.
It's just I couldn't believe it. So.
Yeah, I can see how she wouldn't want to watch it, but I would tell most people, I mean, nobody wants to see a child. No one wants to see a child put through what he was put through. But at the same time, people need to be aware. People need to be aware of what is happening, because I'm realizing more and more as I watch things, it is the people who have to make the change. We have to make the changes. We have to have our voices heard, and we have to keep pushing forward and keep, helping people. And I don't know. So I would recommend for people to watch it. I really would.
I know.
I also watch, which I've mentioned before, Red Table Talk, which I love, with Jada Pinkett Smith and her mom and her daughter, and sometimes Will Smith is on there. And so this one Red Table Talk I watched a week or two ago was about the coronavirus, and it was really informative, and I really liked it, and I loved that Will Smith was on there, and that the doctor that they were talking to kept calling Will Dr. Smith because Will Smith knows so much and explains it so well. And because Jada kept calling asking the doctor, is like, is Will right? Is what he's saying right? And he is right on. And he's saying it better than doctors I know. He says, because he's saying it how people will understand, and he's doing an excellent job. So it was really good. And you know what? It was very informative. Every day this coronavirus is changing. So people may know the information now, but Red Table Talk is a really good show to tune into. And it is on Facebook. So you go on Facebook, you look up Red Table Talk, and you can watch these shows.
Cool.
They're not too long, and they're easy to get to, and I would recommend that.
Awesome.
Okay, so even though we're dealing with all this reality, stuff that happens in real life and stuff that's affecting us, I did see the movie It, Chapter 2. And so this was kind of an escape, right? Even though I was scared. It's a sequel to It, 2017 movie It, based on Stephen King's novel. And so this movie stars James McAvoy and Jessica Chastain and Bill Hader, and I just love all of them. So I knew I wanted to watch this. This movie is set in 2016 and is 27 years later than the previous movie. And Pennywise is back, and he murders a young man. And Mike, who still lives in the same town, who's one of the original characters, realizes it is back and calls all his friends and asks them all to return, since they made a promise when they were kids to do so if Pennywise ever returned. So that's what that movie's all about.
Oh my gosh.
So
did you see that meme that I posted on Facebook where it was Pennywise in the storm drain, and he's like, hey guys,
yes,
the gym is down here. And then, because it's currently right now where all of our businesses, including gyms, are closed. And so I tagged it to my husband, because the person that he was talking to, Pennywise, was like talking to, and then they just, they're like, oh, cool, let me get through. And then it's Pennywise with his balloon. And I'm like, don't ever go into a storm drain when a clown is trying to get you to go down there.
Right.
But
right.
I tagged it to my husband because he's like been itching to go to the gym. Poor guy hasn't had a good workout in, but I love it. I love Pennywise. I watched it when I was a little kid. The original, it scared the crap out of me.
Yeah.
It still scares the crap out of me. I loved it, the first one, the remake, and then I can't wait to watch part 2.
Yeah.
So thanks for your recommendation.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks everybody. That's our show. And thank you for tuning in. We are so grateful that you tuned in. And we do hope that something we said today resonated with you, gave you a chuckle, some happiness, some positivity, or inspiration. Please subscribe to our podcast and tell a friend. We would really love more members of our TV club just like you. Please rate and review our podcast on iTunes and Stitcher. We could really use your feedback.
Yes, and we will be uploading new episodes Tuesday, April 14th. Next show will be on The Walking Dead Season 10, episodes 14 and 15. You can find our website listed in our show notes. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.